Okay, I'm here with Amber Jones. She is here to talk to us about the military program we have for judo. So, can you please just introduce yourself and tell me about yeah, your what you do?
So I'm Amber Jones. I'm a lieutenant colonel in the United States Army. I'm actually in the National Guard, so I do it part time. I'm the head coach for the Armed Forces Judo team, which is all branches of the military, whether they're reserve, National Guard, or active duty. I'm actually an engineer in the Army, so I fill my time being the coach. I took over in kind of late 2019 from the previous coach, and not only am I the coach, but I'm also kind of the organizer and the recruiter for it, and kind of all things Army, military, sports related. So
Okay. So you're like have many hats on right now. So
yeah.
okay, so yeah, we're here to talk a little bit about some upcoming competitions that are going to take place in the next few years. So, can you tell us about the competitions and maybe the requirements that you need to compete or to sign up, or is there like a qualification you have to go through? So yeah, can you talk a little bit about this?
Absolutely. So after 2019, COVID hit. Our team kind of got decimated coming out of because that was the World Military Olympics, and so we're finally getting the green light to grow our program. Unlike USA Judo events or IJF events, this isn't a pay your own way type thing. You have to qualify. The military pays your own way. They pay for everything, so you can't just show up and go. You have to be in the military, right?
Yeah.
So we just got back from the World Military Championships in Uzbekistan. We only managed to get two athletes there. We had five that qualified, but three of them, one got pulled because their command wouldn't let them go, and then two others couldn't go because admin paperwork, other stuff didn't get done in time. So there's a lot that goes into getting a military athlete overseas to compete. Because we're in the military, we're considered, we're a delegation. We're considered, ambassadors of the sports and of our nation. So it's a huge process, and I try to get people on board early to get them there. So what we're looking at right now, and what I'm doing this interview for, is for us to try to build the team for next year. So next June, we're hosting. So every year we have the World Military Games or the World Military Championships. So every sport kind of has their own thing. Like basketball has this championship and etc. So every year we got ours, and ours is next year in June. What they're doing next year is really neat, to where they're actually combining three combat sports, right? They're trying to make a military combat games in Germany, which is wrestling, taekwondo, and judo all at the same time, all at the same venue. So, we're making a really big push to try to find all the qualified athletes we can to get them prepared and ready to go to Germany next year. And then follow on after that, we'll have one more military championships. And then we get to have what's called the World Military Games, which that is basically the military Olympics. And what most people don't understand is most countries, the way that they fund their athletes is through their military. So, for example, I went to Brazil, World Military Games, the Olympics of the military, and I go out my first round in 52 kilograms. I pull Brazil in Brazil, and it just happened to be their number one top player in the world, or in their country, who went on to get a medal in the 2012 Olympics. So that was
It's
my first
Erica
international.
Miranda, yeah?
Yeah, it
Erica
was just.
Miranda. I know her. Okay.
Yeah, so very, very rough first round going out of my very first military game. So, it's not what a lot of people think, to where it's like this lower end just because it's not an IGF point event.
Hmm.
They want to make it a point event, but they can't because it's limited to being in the military.
Yes, exactly.
But it's run just like an IJF point event. It's at that same caliber, and you have the same caliber athletes
Hmm.
across the world that step out on that stage, and it's a heck of a thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So going into next year, trying to build this team, trying to find all the military athletes, right? So you can be a reservist, you can be inactive reserve, you can be active duty, you can be National Guard. As long as you got some sort of a contract with the military, that's great. We can take you, we can put you on orders, we can fund your entire your trip, right?
Hmm.
But there is a qualification requirement. So we can't just take anybody off the street to go there. One, for safety reasons. You're going against the best in the world, so we can't really have you coming in with just doing novice tournaments. We don't really take masters.
Hmm.
Again, it's a safety thing, and you're not getting the caliber level of athletes that you fight in masters that you would in this world tournament.
Hmm.
So basically, we're looking for athletes that are fighting the senior division.
Hmm.
They're medaling in point tournaments in the United States. Um, they're making at least the top five at nationals, and that's stretching it, right? So if they have a great record otherwise, but they went to nationals, only got top five, then we could take them. But
Hmm.
if they've never competed in a point tournament before and then they get top five, it's going to be pretty questionable. We'd have to scrutinize the bracket, who they actually fought at nationals, and
Hmm.
see if they're getting that caliber of athlete, right?
Yeah.
Competing at tournaments is a qualifying factor. So preferably medaling or top five in a B level tournament. Just because you go to a B level, a lot of people can go to a B level tournament and not necessarily be that caliber athlete, right?
Hmm.
Being on the point roster, again, as you know, it depends on which weight division that you're in, who you fought at tournaments to get points. Everything kind of goes in a factor to make sure that we're bringing athletes that can at least be competitive.
Hmm.
Maybe not top three medaling quality at an Olympic level tournament, but at least being competitive, top five, not first round, you're out type of thing. Because that does happen. And it's happened to us a lot over the last couple of years. We've had some pretty rough draws, those first round Olympic athletes. But
Yeah.
the good news is it's that modified double to where if they make it to the quarters, they lose, they pull you in, right?
You can
So
fight again. Oh, that's great. That's cool.
yeah,
That's a
yeah.
nice.
It doesn't always happen, but it's nice to when that happens. So
Yeah.
um, we don't usually have a training camp. We used to have training camps prior to going to where we could at least bring all the military judo athletes together for a week.
And so are there any, I'm not sure if you mentioned, are there any competitions in the USA that are just for military?
No,
No.
we I think USA Judo years ago used to have one, but the problem is it was so small that they started adding like first responders and veterans and really starting to try to get the tournament or the participant base in there, and it just didn't work out.
Okay.
We don't take veterans, right? So that's again,
And
it's just another thing.
yeah, is there an age limit? So like you said you don't take veterans, but is there like, so for example, if you are over the age of 30 but you are competing in the senior events, can you still compete, because you're kind of considered a veteran, and there is a division for veterans 30 to 35, right? But you
So yeah,
you still can compete for seniors, and if you are competing for in the senior division, it's still okay. Is it so over?
yeah, Hannah, you can join the team. It's fine.
I'm not
Yeah.
military. I also would love to join the team. It sounds so awesome.
So yeah, there is no age requirement, right?
Okay.
So
Okay.
the problem is we have a lot of veteran players that are in the military that they try to submit that resume and they want to join, and I appreciate that their enthusiasm to want to join, but they don't quite understand the level of this,
Yeah.
right? So you have to be fighting in senior elite divisions, right? Brown belt
You have
divisions,
to be a
novice
black
divisions.
belt. Yeah. Yeah. So also you have to be a black belt, I would say, because this is
We've taken brown belts,
okay.
but I mean we've taking brown belts pretty high ranking on the rosters and are competing at that level, and mostly because they have a junior record.
Hmm.
So that is another thing. So let's say they're fresh in the military, right? They're an 18, 19-year-old kid that just joined, but they've been competing in the IJF World Tours for cadets and juniors, and they've got an amazing junior IJF record. We do accept that.
Okay. That's also good to know. So will you be at any competitions coming up? So there's President's Cup in November. So will you be there?
Yes. So we're actually going to be putting up a table at weigh-ins. I have some of my current athletes dressed up kind of like this in our armed forces polos,
Mhm.
walking around trying to get information out and hand out flyers and stuff. So we'll be there throughout all the weigh-ins. They're all competing. I'm competing and coaching. So we're
Cool.
not going to do anything during the actual event, but during weigh-ins, everybody's starving and hangry. We're
Mhm.
we're going to try to feed them information.
Yes, the best way to do it.
Yeah.
And how can, so if, we have someone in the military that's listening to us and they're interested, who do they contact? So do they contact you? Do they contact someone in their own office? Like how do they get, yeah, in contact to try to join this team?
So it's twofold. So one, they can contact me. It's armedforcesjudo@gmail.com is kind of our shared email address. But the biggest thing is for them to reach out to their armed forces sports representative.
Mm-hmm.
That way, so
Mm-hmm.
if they contact their sports representatives, most all of them have a website, and it's got a link to where you can email your sports representative, or they can go through what's called their, if they're active duty, their MWR office on their base. What they don't understand is a lot of times there's money out there to get funding, so
Mm-hmm.
they can go to their base MWR office. And a lot of times when I was active duty in the Marine Corps, they used to pay me. I mean, they'd either buy my flights or they'd pay for my event registration, and that was just a local thing. I wasn't even on the team yet. I was trying to get on the team. Um, so I mean, and every penny helps. So if they pay $120 registration fee, great.
Yep.
And plus, it gets their name out there. It gets that publicity on them, and it helps us build that knowledge of judo with our own armed forces sports people, because they don't really know that much about us. And trying to get them to understand what we do, and getting athletes to places is really important.
Yep.
Like I said, they can reach out to me. I manage a master roster of all military athletes, no matter
Yep.
what the age.
Mm-hmm.
So, uh, so they'll periodically, and USA Judo helps with that. So, when people register for USA Judo, it's really important that they click on the registration whether or not they're affiliated with the military,
Okay.
because then that sorts them into a separate bracket. The USA Judo then helps me get information out to them. So we send out emails specific to military judo.
Okay. That's really good information. And can you just mention again, so we have military games, 2020
Mhm.
and no, 2026, yes? Military combat games, combats.
2025.
2025, next year.
Yeah,
Okay.
next year.
Okay. And then in 2027?
Yeah, 2027 will be the next World Military Olympics, which we
Okay.
don't have a venue for it yet, but it's, for athletes that don't necessarily get to go to the Olympics, right?
Hmm.
Those of us that have tried and failed miserably, but we try to get there. We don't quite. The Military Olympics is amazing. I mean, so when we went to China, they actually built an athlete village for us. They set everything up. They built they even extended their rail station all the way out to where they built the new athlete village, which then got turned into apartments afterwards, right?
Cool.
When we went to Brazil, we were all in different military compounds, but they were brand new compounds built to do, and they were going to turn it over to be military housing later. So it was all brand new buildings. So it's just like a small scale Olympics, and a lot of countries use it as their practice run, if you will, for actual hosting Olympics. So it's a lot of fun. It's very stressful usually, because I mean, you're going over there with all the sports and all the delegations, and it's a heck of a deal. Normally we're over there for about 2 weeks, depending on where we go. So it's a lot of time to take away from your families and your work, but it's worth it. It really is. One other thing that we have, so a lot of times we're actually supposed to bring an IJF referee with us,
Hmm.
an A or B level. They will accept a B level, but again, they're kind of restricted on. They're not going to allow them to do the medal events and stuff. But we haven't brought a referee with us since, I want to say, Brazil in 2011. So we're trying to get it to where we can bring an IJF referee with us to Germany,
Hmm.
if we can secure the funding for it. And they don't have to be in the military. They
Okay.
can be a civilian. They get put on special travel to go over there. I'm not entirely sure how it works, since we haven't got one with us for a while, but we're working through that right now and how we're going to be able to do that.
Hmm.
It's supposed to be mandatory for each delegation to bring a ref.
That's good to know.
And then,
Referees.
yeah, again,
If any
yeah,
referees
right.
listen to
Yeah,
us.
I'm working with. Yeah, I'm working with one right now, seeing if we can get her over there. And then, like I said, we're usually supposed to bring two, like an A and a B, or two A's. We're not supposed to bring two B's, because then that kind of restricts the event too much. But and then, so I do have an assistant coach, Tiago.
Mhm.
He's come on board. He had some didn't go to Uzbekistan with us, but he does help out some
Mhm.
with the events and stuff. And he'll be going over to Germany with us. There will be two of us over there
Mhm.
coaching. So we're trying to fill the full team. So not only is there an individual competition, but there is a teams competition as well.
Cool.
Typically, it's a male team and a female team, but I think they're going to go to the IGF regulation next year to
It's,
where it's a mixed. Yeah.
I think
So
a lot of people, it's all changing now to mix everything. So mixed team.
yeah.
So You need 3 men, 3 women to fill this fill the team.
Yeah.
So,
Or we take penalty or we take losses,
yeah,
right? So
do that. So, one last question. You mentioned World Military Championships. This is every year, to clarify.
yes, World Military Championships is every year except
Mhm.
for the World Military Games year. Then everything gets put into just the games.
So, if you are in the military, you most likely will have a big competition every year that you can compete in, right?
Yeah,
So, yeah,
pretty
so
much.
it's really cool, I think, if you are in the military, to try to, yeah, sign up for this. This is awesome. I competing in a world championships or games, it's really special, and I think a great opportunity, like you were saying. So,
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We do have another initiative in the military, which most countries fund their athletes, their Olympic athletes that are military. We do have a program like that in the United States called the World Class Athlete Program.
mhm.
Most branches does have the World Class Athlete Program, but we have not had a judo player in it for maybe 10 years, 15 years. It's been a very long time since we've had judo athletes in it. Um, like Leo White. Leo White is a great example. He was one of the most winning military judo players that we've ever had, right?
Mhm.
And he was one of the guys that really grew military judo back in the 80s and 90s, and then it just kind of died, right? Because we went to war and we've been at war for a very long time, so it kind of really destroyed the athlete side of being in the military. But we're trying to bring that back. We've got a couple of initiatives that we're trying to get with the World Class Athlete Program to try to build that. Ed Liddy is actually helping us. He
Mm.
wrote the standards for the Army side of the World Class Athlete Program, which we're going to start revamping and try to get them back on board. So basically, anybody again in the military, Reserve, National Guard, active duty, can apply for the WCAP program, and if they get accepted, typically they're allowed to pick where they want to be stationed,
Mhm.
and that will be their training site. And basically, they're going to get paid full time plus the living allowance and all of that in order to just do judo. They'll get whatever dues for their training site. If they go to the new Olympic or the training center in South Carolina, or if they go to somewhere else, all that get paid for.
Mhm.
The tournaments paid for, their travel paid for, all of it. But again, you have to be at that world class
Mhm.
judo level already before you apply, and you have to be in the military. So,
Before you
uh,
apply. Okay. So that's good to know too.
yeah.
Okay.
But your job then in the military would be judo. That's it.
Mhm.
How
Okay.
great would that be?
I'm sitting here listening to this and I'm like, I should have joined the military when I was 18 years old.
Yeah, it's hit or miss though. But yeah, if you were already that Olympic level athlete, then yeah, that's I had applied for the program years ago when I was really competing and medaling at nationals, but they just didn't have the appetite for judo. So it's hit or miss. So we're
Yeah.
trying to build that back up, trying to build their want to have judo athletes again in the program, which I think Ed Liddy is probably going to be able to help us out a lot with that.
That's
So
great. And like right now, we're just trying to, build awareness to these programs and to share with everyone the judo community that this is available for you. So really, Amber, thanks really for taking some time. I know it's super early where you are.
cool.
Um, maybe you're used to waking up early. It's the normal for you. But
Normally I'm at the gym right now, so
oh, okay, sorry. So you can go to the gym now, hopefully, do a quick workout. So yeah, really appreciate this. Thank you for your time and thank you for sharing. If any of you have any questions, please feel free to contact Amber. I will also add her email to the caption, so you'll see her email so you can reach out to her with any other additional questions. So thanks, Amber. Thank you for your
awesome. Thanks, Dan. I appreciate it.
time.